Some say Africa's golden era is gone. A time when great African kings and queens built their dreams into empires, stretching across the continent and beyond. But we say a new era is upon us. A new set of African kings and queens are on the rise. Driven by the same wealth of character as the kings and queens before them. Building new empires of enterprise with the right partnership. So rise up wherever you are, new kings and queens of Africa. Embrace your full potential and be proud of your heritage.
All right. Good morning, or good evening, everybody. Welcome to the new show, The New African. Now, this particular show that we're creating is the conversation or talking about the experience that individuals go through during the divine self. In search of the divine self, the most powerful state that a human being can be a part of. And when we look around the African diaspora, we realize that quite a few of us are making that journey home. And that journey may not be a geological journey. It is definitely an internal spiritual one. It's an intellectual one. It's an emotional connecting one. And so it definitely changes our lives and our focus. Now, previously, you saw some of the New Africans, and I will always say a New African is any individual seeking a divine self within the first 5 years. In my community, we say we Uncle Toms, and every 5 years we drop a letter off. That's old school. But here we say anybody in our community within the first 5 years can be a part of the community, a part of the conversation, part of the journey. And we know that we have a lot of individuals making this journey, and a lot of individuals, I have a lot of friends who have questions in regards to making this journey. And so I said, you know what, we have some New Africans in the building for us, and they're all over the country. And I said, so I grabbed a few of them and I brought them into our first meeting, and the stream went well. And I was asked to have more of the elders in our community come in and bless the individuals, New Africans, where they can have questions and share on the knowledge and wisdom of within their journey. And so the first one who I'm inviting to the community is because it is important, because we have individuals seeking the on that path to experience the divine self, where it says on the temple, of Luxor, know thyself. And I said, who else to invite? No other than our master teacher of African history, tradition, and culture, but Wale Olatunji. Hey, my good brother, how you doing? You're on mute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you for inviting me. Glad to be here.
I'm gonna say it's an honor for me, because for years, if I say I've been in this struggle, in this journey, in this community for 30 plus years, and every year that I've been a part of it, you've been the master teacher of African history, culture, tradition, the classes. I want the community, to those who don't know, and the New Africans coming in, and those who are watching, let them know your name, what it means, and what drove you to becoming this master teacher.
Okay. I am Wale Olatunji Lumumba. Wale is a title. It's the first entry into the ministry for brothers in the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church. And it means teacher. My name, Olatunji, means honor reawakened, and Lumumba, born gifted.
And how did you you came in with the information? How did you get to the point where you became you are who you are in terms of the community, man, as a teacher of African history?
Well, I was already kind of into teaching African history before I came into the nation. It's always been a passion of mine. And when I found a place where that passion could be nurtured, I was just lucky and literally driven to this connection. I remember, it seems like everywhere I would go, I would run into a Black Christian nationalist. I was like, what's going on here? These brothers and sisters trying to invite me into their organization. So I decided to go and check it out, and I've been there ever since over 40 years. And because I did have that passion for learning about the history and culture of our people, I was given an opportunity to be a lead facilitator for the class in the nation, which is a great honor and a privilege to me.
All right. Well, we're gonna bring the new Africans in the room now. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Peace and blessings.
Right. Greetings, everybody.
Now we've had Sister Najuma on, we had Nia on, and now we got the good brother Kojo. We missed you last time, my brother. How's it going?
It's going beautiful, man. I'm glad to be a part of the organization. I love my family, man. You know, Shrine Number 9 and all the rest of the shrines, man. You know, I just give thanks for being BCN, man. You know, and I just want to, you know, increase in my duties and works, you know, and bring more people that's thirsty for the truth in.
All right. Now we have I've always doing this with the Akiba Land children, understanding the meaning of their name and how they represent it. I always tell people that the name is our first part of our autobiography. Can you let the individual, you know, the people watching know what your name means?
Yes, Kojo, that's unconquerable. And I know the rest of my name.
How do you relate to the definition of being unconquerable?
Well, always since I can remember, been strong in who we are and what we stand for. And I'm all for it, you know, and it's, you know, Christ in the center, and then us being, you know, the members of the shrine. It's just like the most powerful organization it could be. You know, I feel like any Black person that got in the platform, it seemed like, you know, the ritual of passage, they should come by the shrine, man. You know, matter of fact, yesterday morning I caught a lift to work, and it was a guy who picked me up, and he said he used to make jewelry for the shrine. Man, it was one of the best. It was one of the best rides I had, man, to work. And when I told him about the whole conversation in the car was about, you know, scriptures and the word, you know,
right,
giving thanks and wake up in the morning. But when I told him Shrine, I'm not, it just like his eyes lit up. And I asked him if you're not busy this Sunday to come by, because thank God I'm off this weekend. So God's will, I will be at home Sunday.
Now, what was one of the things that triggered you to make this journey to experience and understand the power of the divine self inside yourself?
Well, I was taught in school that we are carbon fiber beings. So carbon fiber, that's one of the toughest elements on the periodical table. It's one of them. It's not the toughest, but it's one of them. But honing down on our powers and being in a group where everybody's on one accord for the same mission, same purpose. And, you know, we all have talents, but we put all those talents into one sector. It just like we just branch off, man, and it just, people can feel the energy. You know, they understand that, you know, where you coming from is the truth. There's no other way around it. And man, you know, I thank God for y'all, man. I thank God for Pastor, man, all the family, man. It's just amazing to be a part of the BCN. I'm grateful.
Wait. Now, we asked the elder to come in, and I truly appreciate him giving us his time. And we wanted to talk about the importance of African history, African tradition, and African culture in segments. First, African history in the journey to the divine self. And so, Walamu, can you begin that discussion in reference to why is it important in this journey that we embrace our history?
Well, I am, in addition to being a historian, I'm also a sociologist, and I study peoples and their cultures, their history, how they do what they do as a people. And it's very clear that throughout the human experience, when people come together and work collectively together to develop an understanding of who they are, how they fit into the community, and what their responsibility is to the community, that's a process of learning. That's a socialization process in every culture, no matter if you're talking about Greek or Roman or African. It's a socialization process that passes on the traditions, beliefs, and culture of a people from one generation to the other, so that every new spirit, every new individual, male or female, that comes into the community is then indoctrinated with that culture, and it is passed on from generation to generation. So over time, that becomes a historical process. It's something that is always being developed by each generation. Now, once you are disconnected from that, there's no real way for you to know who you are, who you belong to, the history and culture of your own people. So you're kind of wandering around in the world, and you can pick up on anything that may be destructive to your growth and development. So history is a cornerstone to social and human development. And so everybody understands that, should understand it. And so because of the situation that we're in as a people who have been disconnected from our source community through slavery and colonization, I'm almost ashamed to say that overwhelming majority of our people do not understand who we are and how we belong to one another and the whole culture that's a part of that. And so we're running after other cultures that do not empower us. So it's very significant. It's key to human growth and development that a people know their own history, their own culture.
Now, the way tonight is going to go, I'm going to speak to ask Walamu a particular question, and now I'm gonna turn it over to you guys to see how are you able now in this journey? How has African history helped, or have you embraced more of studying your history in this journey to understanding the divine self? And that's an open question to the group.
Well, there's a terminology, I'm hoping I'm saying it right. Solidarity. Solidarity is belonging. Knowing that in this world that, you have a family. I tell people, I tell myself, I wasn't just came in this earth off of meteor. Like, I have family, but, the true family, the body of Christ, you know what I'm saying? And standing for the right thing and knowing that, stuff has been twisted and turned. But when you finally see a vision, and it just makes sense because the truth is in light, and I guess a lie is darkness, and all I feel is light from my family, for each one of y'all individuals, you know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all accepting me in, and to know that I have a point of originalization. in better words, because I know who I am, but with my family, I feel even more stronger. When I tell anybody the shrine of the Black Madonna, they just be in awe because they know. They know. Once it's just like food. If you don't had the, like back in the days, I said about in the 80s, I bet if you was to remember a strawberry or a grape or any kind of fruit, it was sweeter back then versus it is now, depending on where you buy it from. Go to a farmer's market, Publix, or Whole Food, or Kroger. When we go to Walmart, you could it just, the truth, it just sit right in your soul. And I thank God for y'all, man, what y'all doing from every generation, from the kids all the way up to the elders, and for y'all to be holding it down for so long, because it's like everybody got a path to travel, but once you get on that right road, you know that this is the right road. Everything just makes sense. The GPS, everything lined up, versus being on that road where you don't know who can I join with, who can I talk to if I go through a problem, who can I ask questions about what is our rights and where do we stand. And this right here is older than me. It's from creation. I thank God for it.
I think kind of going back on what Walamu was saying in regards to, I've had a love for socialism as well since the age of 15. Well, really since the age of 13. I got my hands on a book, The Pedagogy of Oppressed, and just looking and reading that, and Paulo Freire, I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. And also being able to study, different communities. I didn't find like a sense of purpose at first, but I think to answer your question, Reverend Ajay, in regards to one, really, really showing reverence to my actual ancestors, I think is really important in regards to going back to my roots and passing that on to my children, because I wanted them to also be aware exactly who they were. I think, Kojo brought this up in regards to having individuals that you're connected to that is, practicing where we come from, because we're not individualistic people. We are about communalism. And so when you're around individuals that are like-minded, you tend to do that. Now, I can tell you some of that does slip in sometimes, and I have to check myself, even my children, and the way that we talk about certain things. It was so funny. Yesterday we were at service, and they were sharing papers, right? And one was snatching it, and the younger one said, "You're being individualistic. You're not being about the community and sharing." And it was just funny to see that and to hear that, And I know a year ago they would not be talking about that. But it is because for fun, we do sit and watch documentaries on African history. They do know, they're citing things like, hey, how you oppress people is you take away their language, you take away their history, you take away their values and their psychological factors. And it means so much to me because as a child, even though I knew the modern day history, and that's just because of the family that I had. And again, I shared last week, growing up in the Bay Area, you have that activism, my grandmother being a very big activist in her community. And that's because she was closer to those individuals who came from knowing who they were. And so it was important to her to teach us these things, but we weren't really tapping into the African history as much as we should have been. But now today, it's important that that's a part of our lives every day. Even in the way that we go out and treat nature is something we talk about in our family every day. How are we treating ourselves as, a person? How are we treating our body? Like that, I think all taps in from understanding who you are, and then you wake up differently every day.
That's good. Sister Nia, how has African history opened you up to understanding your connection or going towards the journey of the divine self?
Opened me up to understanding my community.
Understanding more of yourself into the journey of the divine self.
Understanding my divine self. I'm sorry, I think I have a bad connection. Okay. So, yes, I believe that, and I believe we touched on it.
Yeah, there is a bad connection, sister. You having a very bad connection. Your mic is on and off. We're gonna ask you to see if you can move. We're gonna ask you to see if you can get to a better location. Because you're coming in and out. Walamu Olatunji, the conversation or the concept of communalism as it relates to African history and how it should be applied in today's lifestyle and experience. Because studying African history, we look at how we developed empires and influenced the globe. But it was also from the state of a sense of communalism, which is something that we see in history. Can you talk about how seeing what communalism has done for us in the past, how that should help us in the present? Because communalism is a major foundation to who we are as a community.
Yeah, the first thing we need to understand is that communalism is the law of nature, not only for human beings, but other animals tend to work in groups. It is through communalism that you are socialized by your parents and your other relatives. Because we have been disconnected from the communal culture of our ancestors in many cases, and have been miseducated by those who oppress and exploit us, it is not in their interest for us to embrace communalism. It is better for us to embrace the individualism that they will promote, so that when we interact in the world, we're interacting as an individual against an oppressed group. And of course, they can always deal with individuals better than they can a community. In order for us to right ourselves as a people, we need to get back in tune with the laws of nature and realize that we are a communal people. And it is incumbent upon us to work collectively together for the development of our families, our communities, and our nations. When we know our history, that becomes very clear to us. For example, right now in our online history class, we're dealing with Nile Valley civilization during the New Kingdom. We're actually going from pre-dynastic Kemet, which they call Egypt, to the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and now we're kind of wrapping up the New Kingdom. We can then see ourselves in the past, before we were enslaved, exploited, and oppressed by foreign groups. We can see ourselves even before those groups that oppressed us became historical, if you will, before they developed nations and states. We developed the first nations and states. That's the reason why they prevent us from learning our own history, because it glues us together in a communal experience, which simply means that we are working collectively together. I mean, that's real simple if you understand it, if you're groomed in it, that mother, father, children, in terms of family, that's our first group, should work collectively together for the overall benefit of the family. then we extend that reality to the community. So when we work collectively together as a community, we can address all of the issues that we are confronted with in our community. And then when we move to the next level in terms of nations, we can deal with all of the affairs that affect the positive growth and development of our people. Now that seems very simple, but when you have been disconnected from it, and the processes by which you learn it have been destroyed or corrupted, then people don't have that simple understanding that we are a communal people, that we need each other. I need you, you need me, and we can do more collectively together than we ever can as an individual.
And that connects to that we can do more together. Why we say there's nothing more sacred than the liberation of Black people, because we're able to do more together than anything. Those of the New Africans, the concept of communalism. What was it like in your experience being a part of a community that, because a lot of people are now going through, they make this journey to, to the divine self, and you can talk to some individuals where they don't have a community, they just have a quote unquote a sense of consciousness. And so I'm not quite sure how much consciousness you can obtain when you're not sharing what you know and who you are with the people that are around you. How did the sense of community reflect in terms of in communalism connect with your journey so far?
Repeat that one more time. I'm sorry.
It's okay. How did the experience of community affect your journey going toward the divine self?
That's an open question.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'll be second or last.
I know for me, and I'll say this: when I left New York, coming to Atlanta, I went to college, came out. I was teaching up the street at the Burger King Academy from the church. I walked into a place where I literally felt home. I felt connected. That statement that they said about belonging, and then people speak about communalism but never really see it or can produce it. And I was in the first time I found my feet on the ground where I saw it manifest in everything that was happening in the community. Communalism, and I said, wow, I felt that the community was truly reflecting who I was to become. And so I dived in, and so communalism and being able to share myself and share my thoughts and share my energy for the sake of developing a more profound sense of community. One of my experiences in devotional, where I'm running the youth program, a youth minister, I was told in devotional where they said it takes a village to raise a child, and there is a spirit in me that is to be used by the community to raise children. And the sister looked at me and she said, brother, every child you see, and at this particular time, my son was kidnapped from my grandmama's house by his mama, and I couldn't, it took me years to find him. And then she felt that void. When that void came out, she said, every child you see, treat them as though that they were yours until you can satisfy your need for fatherhood with your own. And so everybody knows my son now lives in Atlanta. I got to finish raising him. I got 2 grandkids. But it was that understanding that, brother, we're going to lead. We walk down this experience of community, pour what you need to pour into the children that need you, and God will bring you all the things that this corrupt world took away from you. And so that, man, when I tell you, it allowed me to find. I've been called the father of the Keeperland in so many ways, according to what I do. So that issue of communalism as a law of nature, it literally guided me to understanding who I'm called to be.
Well, are you done? I don't want to jump in.
No, go ahead.
So I think I touched on this a little bit last week in regards for searching for a community. So I have a huge family. My mother comes from a family of 12. She's a 10th child. So my best friends were my cousins. I have 43 first cousins. Just on my mother's side. Not to talk about my father's side, that he comes from a family of 10. So we have a lot of grandbabies. And
I got some catching up to do.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Did you say 43 first cousins?
I have 43 first cousins on my mother's side. I'm not even gonna count my daddy's side yet. On my mother's side.
Crazy.
And so you can imagine we have huge family events growing up in Oakland. I always tell people I was born in San Francisco, raised in Oakland, but I always say I'm from the Bay Area because I bounced every weekend, right? Because it was about being in community, Sunday dinners, all these things. Again, my grandmother being the major matriarch and being rooted in that community since. So I was longing for that when I came to Atlanta. And further down the line, we'll talk about how I got to Atlanta. But I was searching for that because I'm by myself. I'm an implant. I have no family, really no friends.
You got us. You got us.
I said I didn't, right?
Yeah.
But when I came to church, I felt like I was home, right? And it's not just for me. The family also holds you accountable. It also allows you to bring in your spaces and gives you the resources and tools for healing. I was just sharing with one of my first cousins today that I was telling her about some crazy things that are happening, kind of like some instabilities in my life currently. And she was like, man, like you just seem so calm. And she started crying because she's going through something. And she was like, I feel like God guided me to call you today. And what I told her was that I operate out of a knowing, not just a belief and a faith. And that's because I'm connected to a community that prays out and that on a regular basis we're meditating and we're talking about what our intentions should truly be. So if I didn't have that community in my life, it would be completely different. And, you know, and I'm just be transparent because we all family. You know, I was off of work because of medical issues from September until January. And now one time did my family go without, we didn't go without food. We didn't go without rent. We didn't go without even Christmas gifts. And that happened from an extension of my village, my family, my community. And yes, I had my biological family assist in some ways, but for the most part, me and my children, I'm getting emotional, but me and my children were taken care of because of our community. And so that means a lot to me to where I got loyalty now, right? But I also am pulled to the side to say like, hey, you know, you might want to do this. Or even yesterday, I was getting on my boy right there. And one of the sisters said, hey, you know, don't pop him, you know, talk to him, be able to have a stern, you know, hand in telling him how to behave in a certain way. And so it meant a lot. I mean, I even had a transformational moment in church yesterday. And then for the first time, I felt like I could praise and honor God in my in a community and not be judged. That means a lot, you know. So yeah, I feel home, and I am definitely connected to my family. It just feels natural because that's what we were created out of being communal.
Nia, we want to try this microphone again, girl.
Out in the woods. I'm sorry, y'all. Is this better?
No.
Hey. Okay. Hi, I'm
right there.
No.
Tell her turn her radio down.
Turn your radio down. You have your radio on? Oh, is the phone connected?
I do. I'm in the car. Is better?
Maybe the phone is connected to the. That could be it. Try. We're gonna come back and try disconnecting it from the radio and see if it works that way. Kojo.
Yes,
How
yes, family.
has the experience of communalism and community affected your journey to understanding the greater you, the divine self?
Well, man, oh my God. Well, before I came to the shrine, I had came to Georgia 2015. And, you know, for how I was brought up, I always felt like we was God chosen people. We'd have been through so much. I listened to my grandmama. She used to tell me when I was a little boy, she said, I used to pick cotton 2 cents a pound. And I believe it because one of her friends, old Willa Johnson, the old man Ashe, but he was the first family member in our family who, I don't know if he didn't know what the barbershop was, but he had dreadlocks. And you know, we was a tight-knit family and stuff. When I used to be riding and when I was a teenager, I used to get out of school. It was nothing to go down my road and see them burning crosses with the white suits on. You better keep on driving, you know. So that right there, you know, then I was young. I seen Roots. And man, that was the first movie I ever seen that made me cry. And it was like, oh my God. I'm talking about me and my cousins, we did some stuff when we were little kids. But I said we could do a revolution, but God is good, you know, because we see love throughout, you know. But said it to say this, I went to the first church in Georgia. It was in Lithonia. And that man, I went up in the church, you know, because God had blessed me, man. I just got a brand new car. God got me from a model to a brand new car off the lot. And the way I was raised, when God bless you, even just praise him anyhow. And, you know, just thank God for what the things he do. But I went in that church with all black, and no matter who was in there. My mama said, go to the first church. Don't pick a church. Go to the first church. I went to that church. I didn't know it was a televised church. Anyway, that man pointed at me. And I thought he was pointing behind me. I looked around. He was pointing at me. He came and said, I need you to come outside. He said, he told me before you walk out the door, he said, look, if you don't put your hat on, you got to get out of this church. And I looked around. I said, well, can I stay? He pointed to the door. Man, I cried all the way home. I said, you know what? Church is for somebody who got their life together, but I ain't got my life together because I ain't completely perfect. I'm asking God, you know, I love God and all this and that, you know, but I ain't have it all right. But when I was broken, somebody said, I talked to a Bible scholar, they call it church hurt. I don't know if it's, but that's what they say. Some people in the community, you know, church hurt. But when I moved from Douglasville to Atlanta, first thing I know I had to do, because I used to go to the was a Greater Mount Olive Church in Douglasville. Man, them folk love me, Pastor Parker and them, you know, and you know, they don't look at what you got on. You should come on in there. But you know, and it's just like, you know, if I always had said to myself, if I had the power just to make my people wake up and just see beyond, we almost there. Just see beyond and embrace who you are, magnify who we are, because we are the children of diaspora. So I was coming, okay, when I moved Douglasville, Atlanta, I got a job. Okay, boom, I had to have a job, had to have an apartment, and I had to have a church. So one Sunday, I was walking down the road from my job. I used to work at Dollar Tree. And I seen the Catholic church. I said, but no, I seen black people come out there. But when I looked in that parking lot and I seen all them dashikis, I had talked to my brothers. Lord have mercy. What's our brother? Maccabees. I talked to my brother, the Maccabees. I asked them because they were standing right there. I said, can I come in? They said, sure. Man, when I listened to that sermon and how they greeted me, and I'm saying people look like me and dashikis, and man, I see you know what, let me listen. And everything was coming straight from the word. Our pastor told me, if you go to a church, if they don't hit your spirit or they're not coming from the word, get out that church. I had to stay in that church. And from there, I can't get enough of church. I'm praying God working things out. Family, guess what? Prayers go up, blessings come down. Thank you, Jesus. I cannot express. I'm just going day by day, one step at a time. But I asked God, I want to be having my Sundays like I was before I started this job to myself, because I got to be charged, and I don't want to feel like I'm not doing my full duties, because I know I can do more. It's a lot going on, but I know God is able to handle and put things in perspective where it makes sense. So, yeah, man, I'm grateful when people ask where you fellowship at. You know, they tell me I got a good spirit, and it just comes from hearing the truth. I'd rather listen to the truth than listen to a lie. All this, and we not just in Georgia, we all over. Bruh went to the spot in Jamaica. He part of that foundation of Marcus Garvey founded, and man, it just, man, listen, y'all play Bob Marley music, man, and we just love each other. I love it, and it's been time. I'm about to quiet up, but it's been times where I was paying my rent, and I really didn't have too much food to eat. Like your sister, man, I had so much peanut butter, man. I had peanut butter for about 4-5 months. I'm talking about soy milk. I said, Lord, thank you, Jesus. It came back so quick, right? One Sunday I was going to go home. I said, I don't know what I'm about to eat. And sister said, come on and said, you know the food pantries. I said, what? Man, I had so much food. I gave food my neighbor, man. I couldn't eat so much strawberry. I said, you know, I want to be gluttonous, but man, I love y'all.
Communalism and community will definitely, and in your spiritual journey, you realize that communalism makes it easy to be a people. It makes it easy to embrace your culture. It makes it easy to go through storms.
One more thing. Please forgive me, bro. This right touched my heart. As long as I live, I will never forget this. I remember when I graduated, I wanted all this trying to be there, right? And when I see sister, I said, Lord, thank you, God. Bro, I love y'all so much. Go ahead. Sorry.
Kojo, she called me and told me that story. She said the brother was graduating, didn't have no family here. He looked out in the audience and saw me standing there.
Thank you, Jesus.
That is
thank you,
communalism. That is definitely communalism.
I had to go support my brother.
Thank you, Jesus.
Well, what it really was it was during our synod time. So everybody was gone.
Everybody was gone.
And so I knew I was going up that Sunday, and I said, I gotta make it. I even took off of work because I was like, I want him to feel and know that somebody, because we're part of the same group. So I wanted him to know, like, your group member, your sister got you. So yeah.
That's
thank you. I love you.
Going towards down that journey when you're dealing with your divine self, it's important that you share that experience to get there. Walamu, how can African tradition and culture affect or integrate into our daily lifestyle? How do we begin to do that?
Well, if you're a human being, you're going to be involved in community on one level or another, unless you're a hermit somewhere. Mm-hmm. What you all have just expressed was just the beauty of African communalism and a family and extended family. The love that grows out of that community connection is one that uplifts, motivates, and takes care of each individual in the family. As a matter of fact, you are looked for before you even come into the physical world. People are already talking about you. People are naming you and waiting for you to become a part of a family. And then as you grow up in that nurturing community, those positive ideas of identity, responsibility is passed on through your aunts, through your uncles, and sometimes through your play mothers or your play fathers, people who love and care about you. That's natural. However, we live in an unnatural environment we actually live in an enemy system.
Mhm.
And once you begin to realize that, you can come to the reality that some of us are born into communities that's not an uplifting community. You can be born into a dysfunctional family, a family that's already has been destroyed by the oppression of culture and miseducation. And it's very difficult for you to reach that divine essence when it's not being in a nurturing environment.
Mm.
And so to be able to address the reality, some people deal with oppression and exploitation as if it was their personal problem. Maybe it's something I did wrong, something I did not have. Maybe my nose was too big, or my lips was too big, or my face was too black. And they begin to internalize the dysfunction of a dysfunctional community.
Mm.
But to be in a community that realize the nature of our oppression is a very positive thing. When I entered into the church, I mean, coming from a strong family, even though my family was a single female-headed household, I had these two grandmothers, I mean, that just love. I often talk about my experience that one time my grandmothers would take turns on picking me up on the weekend. And one day it was a mix-up, and both of them showed up at my mother's house at the same time. And so I guess I'm about maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I'm looking at both of these grandmothers who I love to death, you know, and they are arguing and fussing about who's going to get me, right? And my chest just, I was just so full that, wow, these women, these powerful women in my life, they love me so much, you know, that they're there trying to argue with my mother about which one, whose turn it is, you know.
We get the baby.
Okay, that's a loving and you know, nurturing environment. An extension of that from a nuclear family type of situation is what I found when I entered into the doors of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church. The atmosphere was already there. It's like when I walked in the door, I could feel it. I could see the energy among the sisters and the brothers, that this was a group of people who really loved each other. And so as I grew up in that community, where now when I came into the community, I had 3 toddlers. And it became apparent that now my toddlers had multiple fathers and multiple mothers. These are Black men and women who already loved themselves. And so they loved all of the children. And so I made up in my mind right there that I had found home, and I was never going to leave. And as we struggle collectively together around the right way to build and reinforce our community and culture, it's a beautiful thing that you're working with people who are trying to develop community, that's trying to address the problems that we have living in an enemy system, rather than trying to address that by yourself and end up on the street talking to the sky because you did not have that support system. So it's very important that we become a part of community. I dread the life of an individual Black person who can go through their entire life and never have this explanation. It's like a wasted life. It's a drudgery. It is unnatural. And so working collectively together, knowing our history, understanding our responsibilities in family as men and women, understanding our responsibility to the growth and development of our community and our nature and our nation, that's all natural. But it seems like it's unnatural because we're living in an enemy system who is saying you should not be like your African self. You should be like a European. Okay. Many people get confused about that, and they struggle through life trying to be something that they can never be.
Ain't no way.
That's serious.
Yes, that's real. Wow.
Understanding African history, African tradition, and African culture helps us to understand the law of nature that is, as a people, to be communal and being connected to one another. They say, you should love your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and your strength, and thy brother as thyself. If that's not the law of communalism, how do you get there? I got to love you like I love me. And if that's not communalism, that's not African, and that's not us. But that is who we are and what we say we are. I try to keep it short. This was good because I got more questions. But we're not going to be here too long. Before we go, is there anything? I know you have the African history class on Saturdays. Are there any books or any information that you would, other than the African history class, that you would like to share that could help us along the New Africans, as well as myself, along the way to this journey to understanding who we are, whose we are, and what we're called to do?
Well, we're fortunate to now live in an information age where, unlike any other time in human history, if we sought the truth about who we are as a people, information is available to us. If we still have the mind to ask the right questions, we can get on our cell phones, we can get on the internet and begin to search for something that in the generation before me did not have the privilege of. You were dependent just on your own individual pursuit, your own individual consciousness and pursuit of knowledge, which means you had to try to read as many books as you could and be associated with as many progressive people as you could. Now, however, you can just ask the right question and volumes of information can be made available to you. And so in teaching the African history class, we went through a period where we were dealing with old VHS videotapes, listened to some of the Grand Master teachers, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and others. And then we moved into a digital age where now all of that information is available to the seeker online. Every day I wake up, I'm seeking more information. And people will say, well, you know it all. No, you will never know it all. Every day you have an opportunity to learn something new about your people. Even if it's just a little bit, you're moving in a progressive direction, because that will consolidate your foundation. Because in your life, you're going to have things that will try to move you off of your center to the negative. We look at the current administration that we're dealing with, trying to take us back into slavery. But if you're strong on your foundation and you know who you are, you know who your people are, you know what your responsibility is in this day and time, and you're surrounded by brothers and sisters who have your every leaning side, that's the only way forward. And so being a part of this powerful community that we are part of, it is our incumbent responsibility is to try to share that with as many other brothers and sisters as we can. Let me try to wrap this up with just this experience that I've been able to take brothers and sisters through as we study ancient Nile Valley history and culture. First of all, we document the reality that we are the oldest people on the planet, based on mitochondrial DNA, based on skeletal remains. African people are the first human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, and we can be documented as far back as 300,000 years ago. And the more research we do, the older that we get. But through that hunter-gathering period from 300,000 years ago, the whole human planet was black. And as we move throughout time, we're having an opportunity to chart ourselves in the development of human culture. Not just black culture, but human culture.
Say that.
The first human beings. To be able to say to you, my sisters, the black woman is the mother of humanity, not just black people, but all people.
Oh, humanity. Say it.
Every ethnic group of women on the planet, mitochondrial DNA is only passed down through the line of the woman. And every woman on this planet, if they begin to trace their mitochondrial DNA back to the past, they're going back into Africa, to the African woman. And the same, of course, is for the black man. But the hunter-gathering period is one thing, but when we move on to the development of high culture and civilization, they would have us believe somebody dropped out of space and created all of this great culture in Africa that's now available for anybody to see. The pyramids, though they're in ruins, they're still there.
They're there.
You can go inside of them, and we take you inside with the video and show you the images on the wall. What's interesting about this is that in my search, I'm running into the first thing I get about ancient Egypt is white people, white people, white people. And then even the white people who are saying that this is what the Pharaoh looked like, this is what the queen looked like, then they take you into the tombs and the temples, and you see a different person. You see black people painted on the wall. You say, well, wait a minute, how did they get white when you showing me now in their tombs and the temples, they're black people. And then to be able to document this thousands of years before there was a Greek or a Roman.
Come on.
You begin to see yourself in a different light. Our children begin to see themselves in a different light. I grew up in a generation where they said your people was just slaves, savages running around in the jungle eating each other up, had no history to speak of. And we were nurtured by that lie and distortion. But now when we go through Nile Valley culture and civilization, which is the foundation of modern human culture, high culture, and we see that this is black people did this. This came from a black mind. This came from a black communal society. This came from a black a matriarchal society. So what we see in the strength of our mothers and grandmothers today was the beginning of human culture from the very beginning. And so we see ourselves in a different light. It empowers us to be able to struggle to do what we have to do today, not just for ourselves, but for the development of the next generation, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel in every generation. So we pass this history, this culture, this tradition, this lifestyle from one generation to the next generation. That's our obligation as humans on this planet in this day and time, to know who we are and to pass it on to our children. And our children are our people's children, not just our biological children.
Wow.
So in my experience in coming into the nation where we had that nurturing environment, oh man, there's nothing better than that. And I hope that we can inspire others to have that same experience everywhere we go.
Well, with all that being said, there is nothing else for me to add but I say.
Amen.
Amen.